Welcome to Global Risk Community Chat. Today we are joined by Carol Williams. I'm very pleased to have you here, Carol. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Before we get into the topic, could you perhaps very shortly introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure, absolutely. So I am the CEO and principal consultant of Strategic Decision Solutions, a risk management and strategy consulting firm here in the U.S.
Nice.
Just very briefly, my background real quick is I've got almost 20 years of risk management experience.
That's very nice to hear. So then could you perhaps tell us more about what you have been up to lately? Because I hear, of course, strategic planning or risk management. So what do you do? Do you incorporate it in a way?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually working on a variety of things with different clients, but considering the time of year that it is, several of my clients are working on starting their 2022 strategic planning process. So wrapping up what the initiatives that they've been working on for 2021 and figuring out what are their goals and their initiatives that they want to be doing for 2022. So really looking at what are their thinking back to the mission. Of course, it always goes back to the mission of the organization, right? And then saying what I really help my clients narrow in and focus in on one specific goal that they want to, especially this client, they do really well with one goal. Don't give them too many goals to choose from, give them one goal and really drive, because that's how they make progress. And that's how you can show measurable progress as well, especially when you just have everyone's aiming for one thing. So that we will be working on that to identify what are the 4 or 5 initiatives that the entire company is going to be focused on doing.
So basically then your strategic planning is more about finding that one particular goal and focusing on that, from what I understand.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is that one overarching goal that is really going to make a difference for the company in the coming year? And then saying what would help move that needle in that goal, and really coming up with max 4 to 5 goal initiatives for them to work on, and then really walking them through the planning process. And throughout that, we consider risk. Now it's interesting with this client because they don't have a formal ERM program. What we do is we incorporate risk in part of every conversation just naturally. So it's been a very different conversation than you hear from a lot of companies that do have their formal ERM program. This is just what could keep you from achieving this goal. Let's make sure that we're thinking about that as we identify the initiatives. And then as they're planning the initiatives, we talk about what are the resources they need, what dependencies do they have, so that they can figure out that timing, what could keep them from actually finishing that initiative on time or being successful. And so risk is incorporated in all of those conversations, but never using the word risk. And that's really what helps drive that conversation with all of the executives.
Well, that sounds very interesting because, yeah, if especially they don't have an ERM department or something. Could you maybe tell us some most important things to focus on, like maybe for people that are doing a similar job like you, that, maybe they need to communicate to the executives in a certain way?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that it is the job of us as risk practitioners to understand the business. And so this is especially during strategy, executives and management have a lot on their minds already. So we shouldn't be taking that time to educate them on risk terminology. Instead, we should be translating what is risk to the business and talk the business of the language. And that is how you'll get that overwhelming buy-in and support and really good engagement from the executives when they're just having to talk about what comes naturally to them.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I didn't hear that before anybody mentioning, because when we think about risk and risk community, it's all about risk, and not really about, I guess, communicating it to the executives without using the word or confusing them, but focusing on what matters. So would you be able to tell us one takeaway point for maybe risk managers or in general the audience, what one thing?
Yeah,
that they
absolutely.
can start
So
doing?
strategic planning should always be about the culture and the personalities of the organization. So there are some organizations that do great with 3, 4, 5 goals and all the initiatives that support those. And then there are others that really just need a single goal that everybody can focus on. And so don't feel like you have to follow a quote best practice of having a certain number of goals and a certain number of initiatives. Tailor that strategic planning process to fit the organization, just like we always talk about tailoring ERM to fit the organization. Strategic planning should be the same way.
Okay, nice. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that as well. I just have one last question remaining due to the time constraints, and that is seeing that you're of course part of our community, and I also see you posting in other groups and everything as well. What is it for you to be a part of our community or any other community? Why you should be in a risk community in the online environment?
Well, for me, it's always about learning, right? You never stop learning, no matter how many years of experience you've been doing this. Doesn't matter. You can always learn from others. And so that's to me, the importance of the community is that opportunity to learn from others. They've experienced things that you haven't, and you've experienced things that they haven't. So share those experiences and the lessons that you've learned from those experiences. So that to me is the value of community.
Yeah, well, that's very nice to hear. And obviously it's about learning, but I think our community can also learn a lot from you because you share a lot as well. And I think that also makes it really great to have you around.
Thank you so much.
Thank you as well. And that kind of concludes also our interview for today due to first timing. So once again, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for, all your content, all your shares with our community. And I wish you a great day.
Thank you. Have the same as well.